normally we never have to butt up a distinguished guest next to our most controversial segment on the show. We have in studio with us, and I'll introduce who's in studio, and then I'll tell you the segment. In studio with us is the former chief of police in the city of Detroit, now running for governor of the state of Michigan. I can still call you chief, right? You're America's police chief. Chief Craig.
You know what, Mojo, I love you. America's police chief.
I love that.
And I'm in the studio with the two great ones, the GOATs.
The GOATs. Wait, two great ones.
Mojo, Shannon.
I don't know who that is sitting next to me.
You just said two.
Who's here sitting on my right?
That's Spike.
That's Spike.
That's Spike.
Oh, now I know why they call you Spike.
Yeah.
But you have to understand something, though.
I'm gonna get a little
So the
Spike
reason
going.
He is. Listen, this is nonpartisan show.
Right.
He loves you because of what you did for the city of Detroit.
Well, thank you for that.
I don't necessarily know, Spike, if you love him enough to throw a vote his way, but you love him, right?
Well, he didn't know who I was when he walked in, so he's already losing 5 points.
I lost. Man. Oh, man. I wish somebody had briefed me coming in, but I kept looking at the Spike, and I was, blown away.
Let me real quick tell you the segment that you're butting up against.
Okay.
We have a segment in a second here. It's called 6 on Sex.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, no.
This might be one of those ones where
I might want to leave that alone.
If you don't want to touch this one, because this is a segment where we ask a son or a daughter questions about their sex life while one of their parents are on the phone with them. And the only way that they lose the contest is if their parent hangs up the phone. So they win tickets if they stay on the entire time.
Wow, that's interesting.
Or lose tickets if their parent says, I don't want to hear about my kid's sex life. Poop. Like my wife and I even though I'm a little dirty MFer, I would have hung up the phone instantly. I'd hang up the phone after the first question of, virginity and stuff.
How old are your kids?
They're grown, 29 and 39.
But you still don't want to hear them talk about their sex life.
Absolutely not.
No.
But here's another side to that.
Yeah.
Ask how many children want to hear about their parents.
Oh, yeah.
We've done that before. We've
Really?
done 60 on sex where it's mom or dad or grandma, grandpa answering the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're freakier than the kids.
No.
I
Always.
would never want to know anything about, you know what, maybe when I go over, I visit my dad on Sundays, he's 89. I'm going to ask him, I said, Dad, tell me, we've never had this conversation.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll do that.
It never goes to that, does it?
But you're running for office. You officially filed and everything now. This is where all the crazy, kinky stuff comes out. If there's any skeletons in your closet, we're going to find
Share
out.
now.
I
Share
can
now.
Share. Let me see. What's the craziest thing I've done? Not kinky. I guess I'm kind of boring in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of boring.
They're the ones you got to watch out for.
Although, do you know that back when the thing I always respected with you as police chief was that you always wore the uniform. You always had your dress blues on, and then when you would go in the field when there was some crazy stuff going on, you had kind of like the more combative, type outfits and stuff like that. Women love a man in uniform. And I know that
I got to tell you a little story.
Yes.
Now, I've been in law enforcement 44 years.
Okay.
And so I remember when I was an LAPD sergeant. So we're going back. LAPD sergeant. I met Denzel Washington at Gold's Gym. And so Denzel and I, we connected right away. He was from New York. I'm from Detroit. There's some kind of symbolic relationship from someone who's from, say, Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and Detroit, Michigan.
Sure.
So we connected. We worked out in the gym, and he says, hey, I'm doing a movie. The movie was called Ricochet. You might remember the movie.
Okay.
Phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
He said, look, in one part of the movie, the beginning of the movie, I'm playing an LAPD officer, and later he transitions and becomes a district attorney. Along this journey, he has to charge or arrest this guy who's mentally ill, who threatens him. But anyway, I don't want to go through the whole movie because some of your listeners may want to see Ricochet if they hadn't seen it. But the reason why he wanted to spend an entire shift with me, he says, I want to understand, as a police officer, a man in uniform, what it's like to meet women.
Really?
I said, well, you got the right guy here. and so
why was the movie? I never saw the movie, but
one part in the movie, in his character, he meets his future wife while he was a LAPD officer, and he met her on duty. She was, certainly impressed with the uniform. And so I told him basically how that should happen.
Oh, okay.
What
you pull him
say-
over and you write him a ticket for speeding.
No, I didn't say that. Now.
No, okay.
But I did tell him, and what was fascinating to watch the movie, and really, he's a student. I mean, this man studies his role. It was if I was talking at different points during the time he was in the role of a police officer. So I never forgot that. And then what the other great thing, he just finished a movie recently called Little Things. In that movie, he also plays a police officer, but he was on a national interview about policing, and this certainly was during a time where so many people, anti-police rhetoric and all this stuff, defund the police, dismantle the police. And so during the interview, Denzel says, many years ago, I met this police officer. In fact, I was doing the movie Ricochet, and I watched him de-escalate a situation with an armed suspect. And I remember went to a call. It was a man who was armed with a knife, threatening his neighbors, threatening his family. I'm first unit on the scene. I'm a sergeant, so sergeants typically in L.A. ride by themselves. I get to the scene. I look over at Denzel. I said, "No, I need you to stay in the car." So he looks at me. He said, "Do you think I'm gonna get out the car and deal with this man with this knife?"
Yeah.
And so I was serious. He stayed in the car. I approached the man, and what he described during his interview, how he saw an L.A. police officer.
Was you?
It was me.
Yeah.
And
he had no idea though that it was
didn't
Chief
remember
Craig, the
my
guy
name.
because you're on TV all the time. I see you on.
News.
But
Yeah.
I was much younger then.
Yeah.
And so that probably. and
Still as
so-
good looking though, right?
Well, thank you for saying that.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I've wanted to ask you this question since you announced that you're running for this office.
Right.
Why do you want to be the governor? Who in this day and age of politics being what it is, where it's like there's so much craziness that is coming out. There's
Right.
You're constantly just torn apart in public.
You're torn apart
social
not only by
media.
the media, but you're torn apart by people that end up. There's hatred towards politicians these
Yes.
days. Why do you want that?
Well, I got to tell you, 44 years I served as a public servant. I served people. Unfortunately, we all know what we see today. We see partisan politics at work every single day. We see division, and we also see that nothing gets done. That's not what it should be.
Yeah.
We need to get back to the basics. I'm not saying all political types engage this way, but what drives me is really serving people. And many who sit in those seats, those political seats, I didn't say political seats of leadership, but political seats, they have lost sight of their mission. And the mission really is to serve people. There are things that need to happen for, let's take our state in Michigan. Early on I proposed let's suspend the gas tax, the state gas tax. To me, it sounds reasonable. It sounds like something that was nonpartisan because all of Michigan is experiencing the higher gas. So it's not a Republican issue. It's not a Democrat issue. It's an issue to help people. And so that's why I'm in this, because I'm going to extend from where I was to a much bigger stage, but nothing changes. I've been all I know is public service. So why would I, make a sharp right turn and become this political hack or political servant who serves self?
Chief Craig, I didn't. First off, when you announced that you were running, I didn't even know you were a Republican. Are you really a Republican?
Oh, let me tell you this. I hear that so much because when you're a police officer, then later a police chief for 3 cities, you serve people. The issue, no one ever asks you your party affiliation. And so here's what's interesting. So people say, he's not a real Republican. He grew up in Detroit. He's a black man. He's got to be a Democrat. That's what people want to think. Let me just say this. I was raised by 2 wonderful parents, both very conservative. They raised me as a conservative. Here's the difference. They were JFK Democrats. JFK Democrats. And so I was raised a JFK Democrat. Now, over time, I transitioned, certainly not to make this political, but we see what's happening on the left. We see that there's some folks far left who are about self. They're not speaking for the people. There's a lot of anti-police rhetoric. I'm just using that as an example. But I was always a conservative. And most police officers, most of them are conservative, not necessarily Republican, just conservative. And so the transition was really a seamless transition. So there was one prominent minister who called me out after the announcement that I was running, and he said in a very hostile way, how dare him hide that from us? If he hid the fact that he was a Republican, what else is he hiding? And that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. The most ridiculous thing for someone in a leadership role to make a statement that, because look, I've been a chief in 3 cities, and not one of the selection process did anyone ever asked me, so what's your political leaning?
Yeah.
People make assumptions based on race. People make assumptions based on the fact that, oh, in addition to being the police chief in Detroit, I also served as a deputy mayor. Now, who does that?
Right. Under a Democratic.
Under a Democrat. Every city I've worked was led by Democrats.
I'm running short on time, and I have to ask you this question because,
Sure.
and I know you say we're not going to be political, but this is obviously political. You're running for office. It is political. What makes you think that you can do what no people have been ever able to do in the state of Michigan? It's very rare that you see an incumbent governor lose, and Governor Whitmer's one of those people. Whether there's the controversy of everything that happened over COVID and things that happened over the last couple of years, she's a very popular governor. She's still got popularity.
And it's a crowded field.
Yeah.
This Republican primary is going to have 10. That's a record, 10 candidates.
It's a record. So I was called to this. I'm optimistic. I'm an optimist anyway. These are exciting times for conservatives, for Republicans. People are fed up with everything they're seeing. I've had a chance to go around this state and talk to so many wonderful Michiganders who are complaining about the partisan nature of politics, the shutdowns that were done in a unilateral way. And I can go on and on. Our educational system's broken. We're infusing this CRT madness, this I call it racist indoctrination. In some of our schools, we see what's going on in Florida. People are sick and tired. Here's something else that's exciting. And I oftentimes get asked this question. Republicans generally don't ever do well in places like Detroit, Wayne County. We know that. So what makes James Craig different? One, I was branded in Detroit. I was the chief of police in Detroit. I can't tell you, Mojo, how many people approach me. I still live in the city of Detroit. I eat in the city of Detroit. And people come up, admitted Democrats, say, look, they're looking around when they're talking to me. Hey, you know I'm a Democrat. I support you. I'm going to vote for you because I saw what you did in Detroit, and I know that nothing will change as our governor. That matters. Now, that's I've never did an official poll on that.
Well, if you lose, don't blame it on the fact that you came on our show and you butt up against 6 on 6. All right? I don't want that to be the reason why.
All righty.
All right. Well, it's good to have you on. It's good to see you. Honestly, I haven't seen you since you left. Wearing those. Can you still fit into that uniform? By the way,
better.
You keeping up with your
I'm
shape?
in better shape now.
I'm making sure of that.
Do I weighed what I weighed when I went through the Los Angeles.
Don't gain weight like politicians gain. Look what happened.
I work out every morning.
All these politicians, they look old and they get fat when they become old.
Denzel wouldn't gain weight.
No. That's it.
Chief James Craig, good to have you on the show.
I'm here with Mojo, Shannon, and Spice.
Oh,
Oh my
go.
God!
Oh, now he got it.
I got to get that vote. I got to get his vote. I think
Thank you, Mayor Bing. I appreciate that.
What a shot. You know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to go get the top of my hair spiked up a little bit.
Ah, there you go.
It's pandering.
Chief, good to have you on. Take care of yourself,
Hey,
buddy.
thank you. Have a great one.
Appreciate it.